year for 24. There's been very little indication that he's willing to opt in. I think that's what a lot of teams want to hear before they pull the trigger on a deal, because you're not obviously not going to trade for a guy that's going to be a free agent, right, for next year. So here's the thing with Lou Williams. The Clippers know if they're going to have any chance of attracting free agents in 2019, which is when they really feel like they may have a chance, they have to be decent in 2018. They can't go through the floor and be a 15, 16-win team.
Right.
They feel like they've got to win some games, be competitive enough that they can attract free agents to come play with their core group. And while everybody, including Lou Williams, knows this is not Lou Williams, what you're seeing this year, this is an anomaly, an all-star caliber season. But he's still a very good, very efficient scorer who can help anybody.
He was pretty good on the Lakers last year when they were really terrible. So he's a guy who can keep you in games and keep you competitive.
Right.
And they don't want to lose. They don't want to go into the basement. But with DeAndre, they can give him a deal right now, an extension starting at $27 million. So if that was on the table, he'd have taken it, I would imagine, right? That's a lot of money. It's probably more than he would get. So clearly they're not giving him the most he can get. Question is, what is the right amount for DeAndre Jordan? And I talked to him about like 3 or 4 months ago, right when Blake got hurt. And he likes it here. He wants to be here as of 3 months ago. Doesn't mean he wants to be here today. So that's what they're trying to figure out.
What is the market for DeAndre Jordan if he's out there on his own as a free agent, and how does that factor into all this?
Well, I think what he's making now that he would be opting into the 24 is about the high water mark that you're going to want to pay a 5 who's not blocking shots anymore at the same rate that he was. He's somewhat one-dimensional offensively. He's a dynamic rolling finisher, but you don't really want to be paying that guy that much money, particularly when you think about the fact, and Dave, we've talked about this too, the teams that like him the most are the elite teams.
Right.
And most of those teams have salary structures that aren't going to be sustainable with him at $27 million.
Right.
So it's difficult. The teams that have the money don't have the need, and the opposite's also true.
What was the list of really interested parties in DeAndre Jordan?
Well, I think a lot of teams were interested in him. I mean, you talk about Portland, talk about Milwaukee, Washington, all those teams were interested in him. But to David's point, they already are paying guys a lot of money. So you just can't keep giving people more money. And especially players who are, while impactful in their own way, aren't the two-way kind of dominant players that really are going to get the elite max deals going forward, I don't think. I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult to pay a guy that still struggles from the foul line, really does not do a lot offensively, a max deal. And his defensive numbers, and I'm not saying it's all his fault because Chris Paul's gone too.
Sure.
But his defensive numbers have gone way down this year across the board. So there were teams that were interested, but again, you're interested to a point. The point is we can't pay him a max deal. And I think he hired Jeff Schwartz, who most people would, I think, say is the most powerful agent right now in the NBA, representing NBA players for a reason, because he wants a max deal. So it's an irresistible force, a movable object situation right now.
And could it be a case where maybe he just opts in for a year and rolls the dice in 2019?
Absolutely. I mean, if that's they're going to do the lay of the land. They're going to talk to as many people, and I know you can't talk before July 1st, but sometimes they reach out and do anyway.
No,
I know. I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I won't put you on the spot and ask, did you ever do that with a Cavs? I would never get you like
Lord,
that. Never. Exactly. See, they never done that. But that's the idea is you canvas the land. That's why you need an agent, because DeAndre didn't have an agent for a long time.
Right.
And he tried to negotiate it, I guess, himself, or maybe he had lawyers, like personal lawyers or something like that.
Sure.
And then at a certain point, when it's not going somewhere, he can't go and start calling other teams and fielding like, what's my market value?
Right.
So he needs Jeff Schwartz to do that. And so they'll look and they'll see. And if they find that, hey, the market is about $10, $11 million, that's going to be a very different story, because then $25 or $24 million, that's not so bad. So it's a difficult time because I don't think there are a lot of teams with cap room this summer. Maybe 8-ish. It could get up to 16, but it's not going to get up that high because you have guys who stick around. Like when Kevin Durant or, there are players when they stick, those teams don't go under, right? DeAndre, he may be in a position where 25 isn't so bad.
Yeah. And I think Jeff, to Dave's point, Jeff is a very powerful agent, but Jeff is not somebody whose only negotiating tactic is no more.
Right, that's right.
He actually is somebody who wants to put his guys in a situation where they're going to be comfortable moving forward, where the team fits that player's game rather well. And I think he might opt in. on something where he felt really good about his future with that given team.
Yeah.
And I think one of those teams could be Toronto.
You know, that would make a lot of sense.
If you
Sure.
look at what they have, he would be fantastic as that dynamic rolling finisher. And their offense has already gone to an altogether different level now because they're moving bodies and balls so well. So if you had that impact from him relative to the offensive piece, and if you could get him back to protecting the rim at the same level he did before, which theoretically in a deep playoff run, you think you're going to get the best of a guy, that's something that could work. The problem is they have to move a good amount of money to make that happen, and the Clippers probably don't want to receive that money, even if it is in the form of a really good player like Valanciunas, by way of example. He's productive, but that money moving forward goes too far out to meet your goals that you were talking about.
Same problem with the Wizards, who also would work very well with DeAndre Jordan. But they got to move Otto Porter. Well, Otto Porter probably more valuable to the Wizards than he is to anybody else.
Right.
So who would take that
With the
contract
last
on?
3 years of that $106 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
If they
a
did,
lot of money.
Gortat ends in time. If you say 2019 is when the Clippers want to spend, Gortat becomes at least an option. Right now, whether they can work out something or not,
Right.
is a different story. With Valanciunas, he has a player option rather, for that extra year, that 19 year, and it's a decent amount of money, and it's probably prohibitive, which is why, unless you can get the guy to opt out now, but who does that? Guys don't opt out early.
Right.
Leave that money on the table.
All right, lots more to get to here on the way. LeBron said last night he's all in for the rest of the season, but that doesn't mean some of his Cavs teammates could be out before it's all said and done. We're live in Cleveland next.